My name is Saul Eisner, and I like to read 7 chapters of my new novel. This is a short, made shorter, called The Knock on the Door. Their insistent knock startles him. No one but the super has ever knocked on his door. People keep to themselves in this neighborhood. Who's there?
Get up on it. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Better?
Yeah.
There we go.
May I start again?
Please.
Their insistent knock startles him. No one but the super has ever knocked on his door. People keep to themselves in this neighborhood. Who's there, he says, sounding like he doesn't care who's there. FBI. Are you Hassan El Ibrahim, also known as Hal Abraham? Yeah, he says, casually. They want to talk to him. He lets the pair in. They flash their IDs. Agent Edward O'Brien, Agent Margaret Lee. They look everywhere at once. Agent Lee asks if he'd answer a few questions. About what, he says. A visit you made 2 days ago to a Bronx company called Detonics. Yeah, I was there. Why do you want to know? Lee says she'll ask the questions. So she does. And then she comes to the point. You say you're a writer, sir. Why would a writer show up in an outfit like Detonics that implodes old buildings with explosives? Your question should answer itself, he says, immediately regretting the way this must sound. Mr. Abraham, if you don't mind, that question doesn't answer itself. I'm sorry, he says. Look, I'm writing a novel, my first, about a terrorist attack on New York post 9/11 meant to take down a landmark. The bad guy's a novelist like me. Is that okay? Lots of action, but he gets stopped by the CIA. Or maybe for you, I'll make it the FBI. His colloquial English is tinged with a barely detectable Middle Eastern accent. His broad smile gets a wan smirk back from O'Brien. But Lee, looking grim, says, what's your book have to do with Detonics? I was doing research, the writer replies. You write about explosives, you need to know explosives. O'Brien, look, sir, we're just asking. Detonics, by law, had to report your visit, which called for an inquiry, which is all we're making. Actually, your statement does seem plausible. He turns to his partner. Right, Margaret? Lee grunts. Good cop, bad cop. The writer knows the drill. Lee, care if we look around? What we find, or maybe wouldn't find, should back up your statement. May we do that, sir? The question comes off as a demand. Go ahead, he says. May I see your computer, she says. He hesitates. We could get a search warrant. Bad cop, he thinks. He nods okay. Lee taps the computer alive, then spends an hour scanning his desktop while the writer watches an Hawaii 5-0 rerun on the tube. Lee speaks. Mr. Abraham, can you tell me about this one? He rises and peers over her shoulder. That's At Liberty, my novel. May I look, she says. She asks. He stares at her. Why not? She reads, skipping around, her already thin lips compressing as she focuses on certain passages. The writer offers the agents a root beer. They decline. Lee asked if he'd burn her a CD of At Liberty. He complies, warning her not to steal it. Plagiarism is against the law. She doesn't smile. O'Brien does. Abraham hands the CD to Lee. O'Brien apologizes for any inconvenience they've caused, slips him his card. The agents leave. The morning after, Margaret Lee, reading Abraham's At Liberty, is jolted upright by its final chapter. Chapter 23. Next morning, Hassan Ghazari's old Nissan, crawls over the Brooklyn Bridge, then crosstown to the lower west side waterfront. On an abandoned pier, a small cabin cruiser, tethered, bobs in the choppy waters of the Hudson, awaiting her arrival. The small craft is fitted with more power than it requires. He motors at a normal pace, southwesterly, stopping when the boat nears the tiny island. He looks down at his feet. They are chained to the floorboards in case he should lose his nerve. He stares up at the tall, gray-green lady with the torch. She looks so vulnerable. Ashamed she must die, but what's right is right. His brother was not spared of torture and death by the American troops in Mosul. Neither will she be spared. His eye is now fixed on the torch. Soon it will no longer be lit. He makes a wide circle from the boat, then guns at full speed directly at the island. He ignores the Coast Guard vessel fast approaching from the north. His cabin cruiser, riding low under its load of explosives, rises up the sand and comes to rest not 6 feet from the wall that surrounds the base of the tall lady. As his finger moves to depress the red button on the battery inside his bulky fishing vest, a thought strikes him. His novel will never be published, but his story will be told. Agent Lee stops reading. A minute later, she gets a call from her boss. The Coast Guard says a cabin cruiser is acting suspiciously near the Statue of Liberty. They'll try to board it. Stunned, Lee spits out orders to other agents to converge on the scene and to O'Brien to hold Abraham at his apartment if he's there. Then she rushes to the rooftop helipad for the quick hop downriver to the statue on Bedloe's Island. As she climbs aboard the chopper, a thought strikes her. Has she just read the ending of a bad novel, or...